Okay, it's 6 o'clock, and I will call to order the Plainfield Charter Township Board meeting for June 9th, 2025. We'll begin our meeting with invocation and pledge led by Clerk McKellar.
Pray. We gather today seeking your guidance and wisdom. May our deliberations be marked with fairness, compassion, and commitment to common good. Through the Holy Spirit, lead us to our decisions and discussions. In your name, amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. Next item on our agenda would be public comments. If there's anyone here that would like to make a public comment, please, okay, just a second, raise your hand, and Cameron's got to get our clock up here. You have 3 minutes. So when you go up to the podium to make your comments, make sure the microphone is on. You need to state your name and address for our record. It's just a little button on the bottom that you push there.
Right here. It's got green, so.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. My name is Giancarlo Bannon, 2931 River Grant Isle. Well, Isle Grant, whatever. River Grant. I have a problem, and the problem is with the superintendent. Superintendent, I find it to be arrogant and cocky. I came here with a request, simple request, to remove my name from the internet. I don't like it. I'm a private person, and I don't like it. Superintendent, I left him a message. He did not call me back. 4 hours later, I called him again. He did not call me back. As a matter of fact, for a week, he didn't call. Finally, I met with him, and he stated that I was cocky for dare to call him 4 hours later. How dare you? Who do you think you're working for? You're working for me, not you. You're there for our convenience, not yours. And I hope I make myself very clear about that. You will answer questions when I ask you, and you will answer the phone as politely as possible, and not accusing someone to be arrogant or something else. You were the arrogant. And I don't like it at all. So now I'm asking you again to remove my name. I'm almost asking, well, you can laugh all you want. We'll get there. You're also asking this township to open on Friday. You're not here for your convenience. You're here for my convenience and the convenience of these people. Okay? So that's one. I'm going to section you and everything that you do. I have here the first 4 months of checks the township wrote, and I have all kinds of questions. And what I find here, I will make it public. I also want all of you to be on the internet with salary, wages, and everything else. I hope I made myself clear. Thank you very much.
That's all there for you, sir. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? No, I hope not, but whatever you'd like to discuss.
Three-minute button going.
Well, you need to state your name and address for the record.
Jean Harrelson, 3645 Summit View, Grand Rapids, 49525. Cameron, I have the opposite view of Cameron. I find him to be very agreeable, willing to discuss any problem. So that's all I'm going to say about that. He and I kind of don't have the same viewpoint about changing your water billing. Presently, it's every 3 months. And he wants to change, or whoever wants to change it to once a month, which creates more work for each individual family, more postage, more checks to write, or getting it in the mail on time. So I did a little research, and there's about 15,000 people on the list for water, is that correct? Or somewhere near that number. I probably rounded it off. And out of that, there's 70 to 125 per quarter that don't pay their bill on time. And I feel like, we shouldn't be catering to 70 people out of 15,000 and changing our rules because of that. So I'm against doing it. It's more work and I think you'll see more people forgetting to pay their bills. So that's my feeling. So I hope you reconsider the thoughts about doing that. There must be some sort of reason for doing it. If you could explain maybe what the reasons are for doing that or what you're trying to accomplish with that move and make it more amenable to the people who are paying the bills. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
And I think we've had 4 letters back and forth or 3, and maybe they
Cameron's
haven't
copied
been
us.
privy to all of them, so maybe they should be.
He has
Thank
sent them on to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing no one, I'll close the floor for public comments, and we'll move on to the review of our consent agenda. Without any questions, comments, concerns from the board, I would seek a motion for the approval of our agenda, including the consent agenda and accounts payable.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda, consent agenda, and the accounts payable.
Thank you, Jack. Support? Support. Thank you, Susan. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mr. Remiga?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn?
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow?
Yes.
Mr. McKellar, yes. Motion passed.
Thank you. Our first item on our agenda is a presentation from the Kent District Library folks. Lance, you're deferring? Okay. Okay.
I am Norma Verheulen, and I am your new trustee for District 3. And I have the big shoes to fill of Penny Weller, who did this for 14 years. And I should disclose right off the front, I don't bake cupcakes. So sorry. I was a hygienist, and we live in Walker, but I was a dental hygienist at a dental office off Plainfield, and then 3 Mile for 32 years. So Walker Library is my home library, but Plainfield Library was my work library. And I just have a couple of stories to tell with how important the libraries are and what a difference they make in people's lives. So waiting in line at a funeral visitation, talking to a young lady in front of me. I knew she lived in Kent County, but not within Plainfield. And I said, oh, this is so sad. This is the last of our uncles. This is the end of the line. What gives you joy? The Plainfield Library gives me joy. She said, it's not necessarily where I live, but everybody is so welcoming there, the atmosphere, and it really makes a big difference. And then I had a niece that moved into town from Midland, and they have a little boy, and she called and said, what should I do? And I said, take him to the library story hours. So she went to Comstock Park, and she called me just bubbling after that. She said, I thought I'd go, we'd open a book, and we'd read the story. She said, oh, no. He read, we jumped up, we did exercise, I met other people. She said it felt like a whole community and a family, and for someone coming in from out of town, it was very, very special. So thank you for what you're doing. It's important. And also, I do have little Cameron. Notice, I didn't formally meet him, but I saw him because I came as a public member when Penny Weller was retiring, and he was gracious enough to come and thank her for her service, and it really meant a lot to all of us on the board. So thank you, Cameron. Didn't find you arrogant at all. But things like that, spending your time and so on and doing that. So we really appreciate your public service. I know you're putting yourself out there to run for office. It's not something you take lightly. And we really appreciate all of you, and I'm speaking for the whole board. And I don't want to keep your meeting too long, so now I get the joy of introducing Lance Werner, who you all know, but he'll have some really fun things to say.
You could have just said that guy. That's what in my house is, that guy. Well, hello, everybody. It's so great to be with you again. And I just want to go on the record and say I have thoroughly enjoyed working with Cameron and with Jen, and we appreciate the building folks and the people that are taking care of the buildings in Plainfield Township, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And I appreciate all of you in your public service. I know that it's not always easy to be a public servant, and I know that every day you guys suit up because you care about the community, and so thank you for that. I'll be brief. 2024 was a great year for the Kent District Library. We won the National Medal. It's the highest award that you can win in public librarianship. And the year before that, we actually had won the Klein Award, and that is another national accolade. We were the only library to win the Klein Award. As part of that award, we ended up getting $250,000, and we invested it all back into the communities. We invested some of that into a scholarship fund and just awarded our first 2 scholarships, one to an adult who's going back to college and one to a high school student. And we're really excited to be able to offer that. Our numbers are up. Our visits were up 7% last year. 2.4 million people came through our doors, and our in-person programming attendance skyrocketed last year. It was an eclipse, and whenever there's an eclipse year, everybody wants the eclipse glasses and hangs out at the library, and I get a lot of random calls from people I don't normally talk to asking about eclipse glasses, and you shouldn't use those for welding. I don't care what anybody says. But anyway, yeah, so we had 320,000 people at our programs last year. We served over 23,000 meals to kids during the summer. Our ebook circulation was up 17%, and our circulation was up to 7.82 million circulations. I'm also happy to report that for the second time we just received notice that we won another national award, the National Library Service Award, for our Talking Braille and book services. That is the service that we provide in the region to people that are struggling with vision challenges, might be experiencing blindness. And Shelley Rosine is in charge of that program and does a fantastic job. So we actually had some librarians from Lithuania today. Last time we won, they came, and they came again. So I have no idea what the tie-in is, but whenever we win, here comes the libraries from Lithuania. So yeah, that's kind of a strange thing, but it was really cool. Anyway, I appreciate all of you so much. I appreciate your partnership, and you guys are doing pardon my French, hell of a job. Thank you. And with that, I will pass it on to the true rock stars of the Plainfield branch, Penny and Trish. And Norma's doing great too, by the way.
I love Cameron. You ready to click? Hi, we're right in. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you. There's our carpet that you just approved that we get a new one of at Comstock Park. And you can see how much our librarians love the new carpet. And we really appreciate it. It looks and smells wonderful now at the Comstock Park branch. So yeah, so thank you. And also a huge thank you for working on the roof. I know the roof is rough, and the roof's a sore spot, and it is extremely expensive, and I appreciate you guys voting to do something about it, and we're looking forward to this fall, the next step of that. Thank you very much. Books don't like water. Okay. I want to brag about our branches. You heard about big numbers from Lance. I am not competitive at all, but the lines you see up there represent the circulation or checkout. The large branches on top, small on the bottom. You don't need to squint because the top line in both categories are Plainfield Township libraries. We love to read and we love our library, roof and all. You can see combined Plainfield Township branches checked out 680,530 items in 2024. That's an average of just over 13,000 a week. That's amazing. And I'm there, and I don't believe it, but that's a lot.
And I also showing you the numbers of the age groups of people, the demographics of the people who use our library. Sometimes there's a stereotype on what kind of people use the library. They're just really, really old, or they're just, little babies and going to the toddler time. You can see by the charts from our demographics that it's everybody. We've got 40s, 30s, 50s, teenagers, and little kids and their parents all visiting the library. We had a combined 272,578 visitors to Plainfield Township Library in 2024. Yay, but we are more than numbers, of course. At the library, as you heard from some stories, we build community. And I want to introduce you to some of our community today. If you haven't met them, and I lied to them and told them we started at 6:30. Come on up, ladies. Come on up. I want to introduce you to some of the friends of the library. The friends of the library provide the little extras that we love to have at the library, but we do not want taxpayers to have to pay for. These ladies have been working, volunteering. We don't pay them. They come, they sort donated books. They sort our weeded books for the best of them, and they sell them. They price them, they arrange them on tables, they have big sales. They've been doing this for a long time, and I'd like you to meet them. Want to start? Just
With
say,
what?
say your
Just say
name
your
and how
name.
long you've been a friend.
Gail Repke, about 15 years, I think, a friend.
Karen Inslee, the same.
Angie Schmidbauer, over 20.
And Sharon Wells, I'm sure is gonna be upset because
Oh.
she should be here.
I lied to her and said 6:30.
We all thought 6:30.
When she comes in, we'll bring her up.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Might be a
If
good
we're all
idea.
still here. So I wanted you to see the faces of these ladies who do all this, and I'm gonna show you some of the things that they have done in the library. This is the wish list that I presented them in 2024 that they have fulfilled in 2025. The top of the list is a brand-new mural inside the Plainfield Township Library that goes down the stair that's just adorable. They give us little pizza parties and gift cards for the staff to keep us all in a great mood. They're buying some teen furniture now that we've swapped areas and have a AV area and a teen area in a new spot. They're getting us some new teen furniture. They handle our plant service and our fish service. If you've ever seen a kiddo come to the library at Plainfield, the first thing they want to do is go look in the fish tank. And these ladies provide the service that pays, because that's a big thing, having them clean out and replace the fish all the time. And they also helped out Plainfield Township in buying the sign for the outside of the library this year, and they provided some of that. So I just wanted to introduce them all to you and say thank you. I'm thanking you for all of the things, and I'm thanking them for all of it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And we also build community through our spaces. And there's a picture of that mural that they purchased in the stairway. And next to it, you'll see our new esports room, which we are doing in kind of a partnership with the high school, who has a great, Northview High School has a great esports team. And we're letting practice go on there, but also for little kids who maybe can't afford that kind of system at home, just check it out and see what it's like and see if they want to get into it. And then I couldn't resist putting a picture of Joe. Joe has been so kind and so thoughtful and so on the spot and answering us. And we really appreciate all he does for the library. He works to do as much as he humanly possibly can. And the last one is our Comstock Park branch mural, which we did as a community. We did a paint by number. And I see
Come on up, Sharon.
our last friend. Sharon, I've already told them that I told you the wrong time. I'm so sorry. This is Sharon Wells. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell them how long you've been a friend of the library?
Well, I can't tell you years-wise, but I remember being in the library across in the little brown building before it got started. Sue Morrow knows because I was on the committee with her to help raise the funds. So that's how many years.
And thank you. Miss the applause. Go ahead to the next one. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you just talked about
Yeah, that's enough. We've also partnered with the Kent County Parks and the Comstock Park Rotary to put up a story walk in Dwight Lydell Park next to the library, so that is really awesome. Down on the bottom, you see the beautiful librarian Lynn Goldberg. We do outreach to the Northview schools, and this is Lynn doing a story time in one of the elementary schools, and they just love her. Phyllis, do you want to come tell them your name? Priscilla. I always do that. Our final friend.
This is my brother Gordon, he's a friend
Oh, great. Well, we want to say thank you, Priscilla. And one more, go ahead. I'll leave you with the Plainfield, the Northview High Jazz Band. They regularly come to our Christmas celebration where we have reindeers in the parking lot and the jazz band on the inside. So thank you all, and I hope you come and avail yourself of the programs, of the spaces, and also, I'm not letting you off the hook on your summer reading. If you do your summer reading all throughout, the adult prize this year are playing cards. Sue tried to put this in her bag, but you have to do the work and read the books, and then you can come collect. You also have the 2024 community report, and this is us, Comstock Park, on the cover, but not competitive. Thank you.
And if I may, Tom, I'd like to add my thanks to Penny and her staff, and also to Lance. A few years ago, we kind of went through this revolving door of branch managers, and it got to the point where we made a rule, you had to be a branch manager longer than a year before you got to change the paint color. And the joke is, every branch manager comes in, the first thing they want to do is repaint something. And so our facility staff was starting to say, we're losing square footage here, folks. We gotta get on top of this. But we appreciate the consistency and the excellence that Penny and her staff have brought. The whole KDL system is a system of excellence, but we really see it exemplified here in Plainfield. We like working with the folks that you've given us to work with, Lance. It's been a good relationship. Appreciate the partnership that we have back and forth. So thank you from our staff to yours as well.
Thank you. God bless you.
Any comments from the board before I'll just make a general one and say thank you very much, library folks, and all you friends who do what you do. I say this often, we're very blessed to live in the community we live in. We get people like you to come and do a lot of different things for the township and its community. So thank you from me, and I'm sure from the rest of the board. But Jack, do you have something? Sue is first. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think it's important to appreciate the things that are not necessarily on the inside of the building, but on the outside of the building. In particular, the chimes that have been donated in memory of Art Spalding's son by the Spalding family. And there are chimes and bells, and I hear those every time I go in the library. Somebody's ringing them, no matter how old they are. So people can contribute inside and outside.
Now is it your turn, Jack?
I'm exclusively an ebook user, and I noticed the ratio that you have there is almost 2-to-1 bound books. And I understand that a lot of that could be because of children's books and people that are not using the internet, but I wondered what and you probably don't have this information, what your ratio would be for adult books versus ebooks. You probably don't have that, but
Don't have a ratio item to item. Or did you want to?
I would just say, we definitely seen an increase in the ebooks as they kind of take a bigger book. We have not only kids who love the tactile books, but we have a lot of stubborn readers out there who say, if someone's shaking their head in the audience, I am clinging on to my paper book. Oh, Kathy's saying the same thing up there. So you would think that, boom, it's all going to be ebooks now, but I don't think we're giving them up quite without a
No,
fight.
we're not. And a lot of our colleagues in other library systems are kind of really investing a majority of their funds into ebooks. But the problem with that is that the ebook licensing models are changing, and so you're just buying it, you're renting it for a little bit of time, and then it goes away. And so we want to make sure that we own items in the library, and that there are things there that people can, tactile things that they can go and check out. And so we'll always have a balance. Just because all the other libraries happen to be moving in one direction doesn't mean we will too. We always want to have a balance between physical and electronic media. And so we feel like we can help the most number of people that way. And so we'll keep our eye on it. I've been working on things on the back end on trying to get some better pricing for ebooks. I haven't got that figured out yet, but I have a lot of time to work on it. So I'm taking the guy who owns Overdrive out fishing this summer, so we'll see if I can't leverage him. I'll threaten or just leave him in the middle of the river there in the river on an island if he doesn't come our way.
So we look for a sharp increase in ebooks. Thanks.
Yeah, I had a question. Did I miss a contest? Was there a reading contest where,
Going on right now.
For the summer.
oh, you better let me in on that. I love contests and I love winning. This is good. I'm always reading. My wife says, stop reading and drive your truck, because this is cool.
Anyone else? Frank?
I just want to thank all of you for all the work you do. My wife's an English teacher, and we only have one child at home now, but when we had all four at home, we were at the Comstock Park Library all the time. So very thankful.
Anyone else? No? Okay, thanks again. Okay, we will go on to our new business for the night, which our first item is to provide a second reading and consider an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances to adopt the International Fire Code. I'm assuming that's why you two gentlemen are sitting over there.
I were looking dapper tonight.
Is that it?
Yes.
I already congratulated Rob on that, so we'll let that. But Cameron, did you want to lead off or just let them go? The floor is yours.
Fantastic. So back in April, we had the first reading of the fire code. We're changing it. We'd like to change it from the 2015 edition to the 2024 edition. Typically, it would be a 2-month period, but Cameron was gracious enough to let me go on vacation last month. So that brings us to this month to give the second reading. Really what it does is it addresses some of the concerns and things that we have in the community related to technology and some of the research that's been done. We would like to upgrade our fire code. Really, the research was done mostly by our fire marshal, Rob. That's why he's here with me tonight. And I would entertain any questions that you might have. You were all provided kind of like a guideline of what is the major changes in it. One of the questions that I think it's important to address tonight would be why the 24 edition instead of the 21 edition, which matches the building code. And really what it comes down to is, interestingly enough, both the 21 code editions of the building code and the fire code didn't match up. There were some language in there that didn't work together, and the 24 edition of the fire code actually matches better with the 21 code of the building code. So that's why we're asking for the 24. That's what brings it out to current. And if, I'd entertain any questions that you might have, and if not, we did provide you with a proposed motion as well in your packet, in the memo.
Okay, thank you, Chief. I'm going to just take a second to open the floor if there's any public comment on this issue before the board discusses. Okay, not seeing anyone, I'll close the floor for that, and we'll go to board discussion. Frank, do you have anything? Kathy?
Good, thank you.
Good. Susan?
I saw Rob overseeing the fire in Comstock Park a few weeks ago, and when you see the fire marshal come away from a fire with a smile on his face, you know we've been doing something right.
Okay, thank you. Steve?
You know I want to beat
All
up.
right, yeah.
Let's go.
No, actually, my question was asked. I wanted to know how the 21 and the 24 editions compared, and Fire Chief answered that, so I'm good.
Step ahead of you, is that what? Oh, never mind. Bob?
That was the question I was going to ask, but yep, you got it.
Jack, make it 3.
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay, all right. All right, well, without any further discussion, I'd seek a motion.
I'll make that motion. Make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
To amend the Code of Ordinance to update the township's current adoption of the International Fire Code from the 2015 edition to the 2024 edition as proposed.
Thank you, Steve. Support from Bob. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Remminga.
Yes.
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow.
Yes.
Mr. McKellar, yes, and Mr. Faft.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you.
Board.
Thank you, Chief and Fire Marshal. Be safe. All right, item B is to consider a change from quarterly to monthly billing for water and sewer customers. Cameron, I'm guessing this is you.
This is me. And so when I put together documents for the board, I have a rule, kind of an unwritten rule, but staff know it. A memo should be 1 page. Anything longer than a page and you lose the audience, right? So I try to come back. You'll notice sometimes the margins change too. That page gets really packed in. But I hold fast to my 1-page rule. But sometimes a 1-page rule really limits what I can share. And I think this is a situation where probably a little bit more backstory is necessary. I've talked with some of the board members in the last few days, but also maybe some of the public need to understand some of the backstory behind this change as well. So we sat here a little less than a year ago, and we've started talking about some of the issues with our water system. One of them being we still have not found an adequate replacement for the Versluis well field. And we've not used that since 2015. And so for 10 years now, we've been without that well field that provided us that cushion for summer peak capacity. So water systems around us, particularly in Michigan and probably a lot of the Midwest, see a lot of fluctuation throughout the year in terms of how much water is used. In the winter, right now, our system will use about 3 to 4 million gallons a day. That's how much water we're pumping out to all our customers on a daily basis. In the summer, that can triple and sometimes quadruple. And a lot of that is going to irrigation, but there's other uses too. People use more water in the summer. Some of it might be I don't know, people who go to Florida for the winter and come back. I don't know anyone who can do that, right? But there's any number of reasons that our consumption is regularly higher in the summer than the winter. And our water plant, as it's currently built, can produce up to a very maximum 16 million gallons a day. When that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. And when our normal winter rate is 3 million gallons, 4 million, and summer is getting up to 12 million gallons, and we hit an all-time high of 13 million gallons a couple of years ago, and when we had that really dry May, June, we actually had a day of 13 million gallons. You think, what's the problem? You're still 3 million gallons shy of your maximum capacity. The problem is our well field can't actually produce 16 million gallons right now. Without that Versluis well field, we're short some of the pumping capacity to get into the treatment plant. And as we continue to search for a new well field, we need to look for other options to make sure that we can stretch the longevity of our water plant without having to make costly decisions or really restrictive decisions on the community. I don't think any of us really want to go into a situation where we have to enforce sprinkler bans or odd-even sprinkler regulations, which I think would be an absolute nightmare to try to enforce. Okay, that side of the street gets sprinkled this day and that side that day. Trying to just help educate, let alone enforce that would be nearly impossible. So we're really trying to head that off. And so we talked about this last fall. Staff came up with what really is a 3-step approach to addressing our water needs. Number one, our engineers are working on process to get more water out of our existing wells. It's what I've called turbocharging our well field. So we can pump, right now maybe 14 million gallons out of our current well field. If we do some renovations to some of the equipment on site, we may be able to push that a little bit higher and maybe get that up to the 16 million gallons a day. That buys us a little bit more time until we're running into water worries. The second piece is looking at the rate structure, and I'll come back to that. And then the third piece is we're still continuing to look for that, ultimately, a new well field or a new solution to finding water that will give us enough water long, long into the future. So as we look at that third piece, we need to buy time by getting more out of our current well field and then looking at our rate structure. And the intent of looking at our rate structure is to try to curb some of that peak demand. The winter demand is fine. We can do that for decades to come. No problem there. It's the fact that in the winter we're doing 3 to 4 million gallons a day, and in the summer can be 12, 13 or more. That's where our real problem is. So how do we change some of that summer behavior to mimic more of the rest of the season? And so that's where some of our billing structure is being examined. And so we've talked about this for a few months now, and we're giving you the pieces to start to put into place as a board. We want to look at a tiered rate structure. And the intent behind this is to help customers truly understand what the consumption that's going on today, how that impacts the entire system. Because that high consumption, and really what's happening is, it's not everybody using too much water, at least not to the same extent. It's a few customers using a tremendous amount of water. And if we can curb some of that behavior, get some of them to curb it a little bit, pull it back a little bit, that buys time in our system until we can come up with an ultimate solution with a new well field. And so the first part of changing our rate structure is changing from a quarterly to a monthly billing. Now, we hope to accomplish a couple things. One, you have a better connection as a customer if you have a data point, like a bill, and you can have a close memory of how you did that, right? If you went out to dinner and you got the bill right at the end of dinner, you remember how your meal was. If you get that bill a month later or 3 months later, you might say, well, what was this bill for, right? So there's a closer connection the closer that time is. So monthly billing helps customers have a better understanding of when they get a high monthly bill, they have an understanding, oh, that's right, I had the garden hose going on the garden or on the landscaping or whatever more this month. So there's a direct relationship. Sometimes though, it's not an intentional use. It's an unintentional leakage. And some of the biggest ones that our water department sees are leaky toilets. And they just quietly run in the background, but there's a lot of water consumption going on there, and customers don't realize it until their quarterly bill comes and their eyes pop out of their head, and their bill is 3 times higher than it's been before, and they're saying, what's going on? And so having a monthly billing helps stay on top of that too. And so if they run into that leak or leaky toilet, they can catch that faster. As customers, they can have a better connection to their consumption and have a better understanding. So there's that part. But then it also helps with looking at a tiered rate structure. If we're looking to change some of that consumption behavior, you need to have that direct correlation between what you're paying as a customer and how you use that water. If it comes 3 months after the fact, it's too late to change your behavior for the summer, but you're probably not going to remember to change your behavior for the next summer either. And we still fall into that cycle. So the intent behind the monthly billing change is to help people understand. And then the next piece to follow behind that would be a change to a tiered rate structure. And as staff, we are still working out numbers to bring to you. That will be the next piece to bring to the board. But we're looking at that we have the opportunity to do a few things. And with tiered rates, we can actually increase water affordability on one end. So we could have that first tier actually be a little bit lower than it is today, actually saving some people some money, but then have it a little bit higher on the high end so that those who are using tremendous amounts of water, the intent would really not necessarily to get more money from them, but to get them to use less water. That's ultimately the goal, because we can't continue to do 13, 14, 15 million gallons in the summer. We'll be at the point where our system is too strapped to do that. We can't allow additional growth in our community as housing needs continue throughout the West Michigan. We would be locked into, sorry, we can't allow any more connections on our system. All these types of effects that would fall out from that. So that's really the intent here. In terms of timing, we are bringing this to the board in June with an intent to have this in place by the end of this year. And the philosophy behind that is we want to make sure customers are well aware this is coming. And if we get the go-ahead from the board in June, then we can start putting this notice on quarterly billing for the 2 cycles for all customers, so that all customers will have had fair notice that we're going to start. And the first cycle would start in November, then December, and then January would be the third of the 3 months. Because right now our billing quarterly is divided into 3 sections. So everyone gets a quarterly bill, but a third of the system is getting a bill at a different time. We're going to merge that together, and that'll happen over the course of 3 months. So by January's bill, everyone will be getting a monthly bill. then would follow up with the tiered rate structure. And so that's something that, you know, after the board, should the board approve this, then the next piece we'll bring to you is, and this is kind of what we're looking at, and talk about that structure and how to put that together and what the implications are financially for the water system, financially for customers, and try to have a full understanding of what that means and bring that to you in time so that we can, again, educate customers that this is something that will be going into place. At this point, we're targeting next spring, trying to get ahead of the summer schedule. But we like to start talking about it now so that people can start measuring their own behavior now and thinking about what their consumption means. A lot of it is lawn irrigation. And I don't know this for a fact, but I speculate that there's a lot of people that probably water their lawn based on what the irrigation company set up for them and maybe hasn't adjusted it, or maybe not know actually how much water their lawn needs. And because water is relatively cheap, they just sprinkle it till it looks good. If you put more thought into it, maybe they can dial it back and realize that they don't need quite as much water as they're using, saving our system that risk of having to spend tens of millions of dollars on plant expansion prematurely. And that's what we're trying to avoid here. Trying to keep the whole overall cost for the system in check without getting overly expensive for everyone. So that's the bigger picture discussion that doesn't fit on a one-page memo, but I think that's the wind whistling.
Is it the door?
We need a new door seal. So.
Don't be in here in the winter.
Yeah. So that's why we're bringing this to you tonight. Even with this monthly billing change, this is the first step. I'm looking for, if the board's comfortable with this, the green light to start moving forward. There'll be other pieces that we'd come back to you with. The first being, you know, we have a rate structure that is a base rate and a consumption rate. And right now, if we simply made a change, well, that would triple the base rate, right? Because your base rate would be every month instead of every quarter. So we'd bring that back to the board and say, okay, now we got to take that base rate and divide it by 3 so that the base rate doesn't triple. So there's little things that we'll have to adjust on the way, but we're working through those and really need the green light to move forward, and then we'll bring the next pieces to you as they're prepared.
Okay, thank you. I know we had one earlier public comment on this. Does anyone else want to speak to this issue? Nope, one time a night for public comments. No, ma'am. Public comments are not question and answer time, just to let you know. So, board discussion. I went that way. Let's go this way. Jack.
I appreciate the attempt to get people to pay more attention to their usage. I think that's important. It's unfortunate that it's so difficult to measure success in this situation. As you pointed out, it might be a hot, dry month, might be a rainy month, you know, so it is difficult, and I'm always one to try and measure success, so I don't know how we can do that. I guess we're just moving ahead in faith, trusting that people will indeed pay more attention to their bills, and that as a result use less water.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, Jack. The measures of success, so there's some things that we can measure, right? We can measure total consumption as a system, right? We can measure it as individual users as well, but really our target is a community target. Individual targets may be out there, but really it's about how are we doing as a system? Are we meeting our consumption goals so that we can stretch the longevity of the system that we have in place? And so we can measure it that way. We can also, just looking at some of the data already, we've come to the early determination that of just residential users, and we're not talking about the big commercial operations, the top 10% of residential users use roughly 40% of the water in the summer.
Oh.
And that's what we're talking about. So the vast majority of folks wouldn't need to change behavior if we could just get a few to pull back on some of that usage.
Glad I'm not in the top 10.
Oh, wait, we haven't confirmed that yet. We haven't confirmed that. We'll check.
water slides your house?
So it is something that if everyone, you know, chips in and is using just slightly less, okay, we'll probably see benefits across the board. But then there's those customers that are really high-end customers. That's where we really need to see the consumption change.
Thank you. Jack, I'm sorry, Jack, you're set?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, Bob.
I see the young lady's point as far as the billing and all that. I totally get that. I was one of the first Dave Ramsey counselors in Kent County when he came here. Nobody knew who he was, and I volunteered to do that. And I sat down with people and we budgeted. And I got into the mental state instead of just throwing money at things. I taught people how to budget. So I would think for people who are on a fixed income that they would welcome that, because instead of paying the one chunk, I know when my bill comes, it's like $130. I'm going, holy crap, where'd that come from? Quit using the toilets. But if that was broken into monthly, I mean, it doesn't seem to be as much of a shock to somebody, like say somebody on Social Security or someone on a pension. So, I mean, so I see both sides of it.
Agreed. Thank you.
Agree, yeah.
And that's a point too, in terms of the affordability, you know, there's definitely the burden of paying 3 times versus 1 time, but then the affordability issue, we didn't really get into it too much, but we do have a number of customers that are on a regular shut-off list, right? And so our staff we try to avoid shut-offs. One, because they're costly for staff and for the customer. But 2, it's disruptive to people's lives to have a water shut off. So we make phone calls, we send emails. If we have an email address, we'll send a text. If we have a cell phone number, we'll do these things, and we'll do the door hangers, but ultimately we'll have to go out and physically shut off the water. And there's a cost to our system that we all bear as water users to handle those things. It's just part of that doing business as a water system. But looking to reduce those and make that just a smoother process as well.
Okay, Steve.
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here or not, but I guess with the background I have, I was just wondering, do we have systems in place to handle jumping from quarterly to monthly? Is staffing going to be an issue? In my math, it sounds like we're quadrupling the workload. I don't know if that's right or not, but I just don't want any of that to affect the great customer service that staff provides to our customers. If I'm just making sure they have the tools and we have the personnel to handle this type of jump.
That's an excellent question, and something that we've looked at from 2 different sides. So there's the finance side, but also the water department side. There's obviously the first piece of any utility billing is getting the data. So all of our water meters have a radio read system that reads to a corresponder that is in a truck that drives around. We have a few of those. Actually, we would like to, for this purpose, pick up one more so that we can send more staff out simultaneously to pick up that information. So there will be a little bit of an increase in staffing, but a lot of that data is actually picked up in the routine daily business because these transponders can reach multiple blocks at a time. And so as they're going down major key corridors through the community doing regular business, they're picking up data as they go. And so we have a lot of that information on a regular basis. It's just hitting those pockets, those neighborhoods that maybe they didn't have to make a call to, or it was just kind of a little bit out of the way. They'll have to make a specific run to those. So that's from the water staffing side. The finance side would probably have the little bit bigger piece of work. But as we talked with Adam and our finance team, part of it is the majority of customers now pay online. From the township side, that's a huge benefit because it's a whole lot more efficient to process electronic payments than physical checks. But even then, those who pay checks, we have those who walk in with a check and those who mail it off. Those who mail it off, it goes to a lockbox, and that lockbox service at Chase Bank processes the check for us. So there's not an additional time burden there. So the amount of checks that actually come in that we have to process, we're down to less than 18% of our customers. So the vast majority of checks or payments are being processed somewhere else. Now when it's happening from those others, our staff will have to pull in a data file. Okay, they'll have to do that, they have to do that monthly already. They'll be pulling in a bigger data file. So some of that is mitigated by the fact that a lot of people are already moving to online payment forms or using the lockbox service. When you mail your check back to the pre-stamped envelope, that's why people were confused why they had to mail their check to Detroit. That's where the lockbox is. So when it goes to that service, it's going directly to Chase Bank. It's going directly into our account. So it will involve some additional staff time, but we also think we can help customers understand too that if they have concerns about missing payments or the cost of writing extra checks, some of those online features are free for them too, as long as their bank allows those free ACH or whatever system their bank may have.
Good. Susan?
I had a different perspective because we live in a condominium, and I wondered how that would affect our billing process. We also have a pond, so we don't we water our landscaping and everything from the pond and from a well. So all the bills are indicative of water that is actually used in the individual condos. And our bill can be significantly high when you take 27 units and multiply that all out. So when I spoke with the president of our board this morning, he thought that maybe a quick chat with the treasurer would help us understand how it would affect her work. And he was happy to call back and say she already pays the bills automatically. So we are getting our free, we don't have to mail anything in. And her comment was, oh, good. We only have to pay 1/3 of our bill every month, so that's opening up 2/3 for other expenditures that might be coming along. And I realize that that's only what I found out today. But you can take that for your individual too. Rather than one bill of $150 a month, you'll get 3 bills of $50. Oh, and perhaps that cash momentum will help with the people who are having difficulties, because maybe the big bill arrives and they're not ready. But maybe when a smaller bill arrives, they might be able to meet their needs. And also, something I talked with Cameron today about was what if are people who truly cannot pay the bill? And there are ways that our finance department can help them internally and things like that. But there are also other means of assistance. And I think I talked with Adam and Cameron today, and if I'm remembering correctly, there were at least 5 locations that someone who truly did not have the money to pay the water bill could reach out for assistance. There's a number of places that they and also, after the conversation with Cameron and Adam this morning, I was at the meeting last fall when we were understanding the enormity of this situation with haven't found another well site. And when I walked out of that meeting, I must have been in a zone, because it was so overwhelming what we were facing and the responsibility that comes with the decisions to get us through this kind of things, that I totally forgot that we talked about measured finances. That every month. And so initially I thought, that sounds awful. But in fact, after having talked to people today, and it didn't take me too long to ask some people what they thought about getting 1/3 of their, 1/3 of the bill, 1/4 of their bill each month, instead of what they would get normally. I only talked to about 5 people as individuals, and all of them said, sounds good to me. So I think I think we have to give it a try. It's a legitimate effort on the part of the township, and saying the township, it's not the 7 of us, it's a legitimate part on the part of 30,000 people to take responsibility for the use of our water. And I'm going to vote in favor of this.
Thanks, Susan. Kathy?
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. You answered one, Cameron, which was you noted that 40% were the residents using it. My only concern there is who is using the water that's vital for their business or that this is going to affect drastically.
So in terms of the billing change, shouldn't address, I mean, yes, all customers would have monthly instead of quarterly. Are you talking about rate structure or
Well,
for commercial?
I guess, yeah, I was just thinking about how this would impact businesses,
So-
but you're right, it's just dividing it up, so I guess it would be the same.
Yeah, so for this piece,
Really?
it would be the same, just chopped up more. I haven't reached out directly to businesses to ask that question, but given how most businesses have accounts payable, I can't see that that would be a problem for most businesses to have a monthly billing versus a quarterly. But when we get to rate structure, our intent was to not include commercial, and partially because commercial is just so vastly different from one to another, trying to figure out what is an appropriate rate structure for a tiered rate on commercial is so grossly different from residential. Our intent was to not do that, and really it would be penalizing certain businesses based on the business use. So we have a number of breweries and distilleries that are high water users. That's their product, right?
Right,
So
right. And that was my
it
concern.
The intent
yeah.
was not to involve the commercial sector in that rate change.
Okay, good. Thank you for that clarification. One comment and a question. Have you seen other townships do this? I know when you think about it, we get our DTE and consumers monthly, but I'm curious if there are other townships who are billing monthly, monthly.
Yeah, there are a number of communities, and I apologize, I don't have a list off the top of my head, but there are a number of communities that have done monthly billing for utilities. And for some of these, not necessarily for all the same reasons, maybe they're not trying to curb consumption like we are, but for some of the other reasons in terms of that affordability factor, or just, the ease of people making that payment without falling into a chronic late structure. It does exist in different places.
My initial concern was that it would be too much of a burden, and I thought I didn't want that on businesses or on our residents. But now I'm seeing this is to address a problem, which I also was in that meeting, but we were focusing on the panic of the wells and not realizing that we had in fact discussed that. Just one other comment, and that is when we go to market this, putting it in the newsletter, will we also encourage people to do the ACH or to do the electronic?
Yeah, there's a number of things that we'll look, obviously we want to look to have people understand their water consumption, right? I mean, I'm a big believer that voluntary compliance or compliance through the pocketbook, right? That's where you get people's attention, right? If you ask for voluntary compliance and do a lot of education, maybe you'll get some people who will do what they feel is doing right by the community, but then you'll have a lot of people who won't. So you really need to have that incentive as well for compliance. But yes, we're going to follow this up with a lot of community education in terms of water needs for our system, education based off of other resources for what is appropriate amounts of water for a lawn in Michigan. Do you even know how much water your lawn needs, how often it needs? And I'm not saying I'm an expert, but we'll find the experts, right, and pull their information. And also that education piece on how can you pay your bill and how can you save money on paying your bill? And a lot of that is, you know, you're not even saving money with the township, you're saving money on your bank fees or whatever it may be. There's ways to do it and there's cheaper ways to do it, right? So what are the better options for you?
Thank you. That's all I had.
Frank?
So having been the chair of the infrastructure committee for a long time, I'm really familiar with how much we've been through trying to find a replacement well field. All we've gone through for, I don't know, 8, 9 years, a long time. And I think to try to change someone's behavior, usually the money is usually the first and best way to change somebody's behavior. So I'm willing to try something new. I just want the flexibility to be able to change back if this doesn't work. So that's a,
Yeah, the fortunate element is, I mean, it's totally within the township's discretion on how we handle this, right? Quarterly, monthly, and so if it's not working, yeah, obviously, the board has that ability to change it back. Same with when we get to talking about the tiered rate structure. What I anticipate is an approach that will, you know, help people understand their consumption, not target them or penalize them for consumption. That's not the intent. The intent is to change behavior, not penalize behavior. So we'll have to keep that in mind too as we look at those tiers. And I think I was talking with Jack earlier, it's like a dial, and we'll carefully tune that dial until we get to that right balance of adjusting consumption to the point that it can sustain our plant longer.
All set? Okay, well,
I have one more thing.
go ahead.
Has any thought been given to prepaying water bills? Like, I know with maybe it's consumer, they have an annual budget type thing where you can, during slack times, you can put into the fund. And is it possible to give enough information to a customer that would say, well, this is your annual usage and you are now in your payment plan that much ahead of schedule or behind schedule? I know that that's difficult to do, but maybe this could help people out in terms of in the winter, they'd pay more than what their usage is.
Yeah, that's something that Adam had mentioned to me last week in terms of, he was exploring that, you know, like some utilities do that budget plan so that you have a consistent amount, and so you can avoid the peaks and valleys if you're very budget conscious and you want to spread that over the year. I know consumers, I don't know if they still do that, but they used to do that with customers. So we were exploring to see if that's an option. We don't have that answer tonight, but we are exploring that to see if that's something that we can offer to our customers as well.
Okay, everybody all set? I guess from my point of view, the ladies touched on the meetings we've attended. This was just one of the things that we discussed that was probably the softest of the things we discussed. Clearly, we need to do something in regards to our water system in lieu of finding a different well field. So that's kind of one piece of it. The rest of you spoke to many pieces of what I've thought about the rest of it, the budgeting and all that stuff. This just makes sense to me. I think for the average person, this is better than getting the surprise bill once a quarter. So I'm in favor of this. So with no further comments, I guess I would seek a motion at this time.
I move to recommend authorizing the change from quarterly to monthly billing for customers of the Plainfield water and sewer systems.
Thank you, Susan. Support?
Support.
Thank you, Frank. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn?
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow?
Yes.
Mr. McKellar, yes. Mr. Pfaft?
Yes.
And Mr. Reminga?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Cameron, it's your comment time.
Okay, a few things, and some of these will be absolutely no news or surprise to you. Plainfield Avenue is under construction. If you haven't seen it yet, then you've done a good job avoiding it. But they've started work on, they've been good about keeping access open to businesses and working with businesses. From what I have not heard direct complaints from businesses on that. They're, at this point, working to keep, at least one lane both ways going. Right now, it's one lane's closed and 3 lanes are open. Oh, did it change today?
Yes.
Okay, so
You're
it
down
changed
to
today.
1 lane south and north. now.
Okay, so that changed as of today.
But you have to pick which one you want to go in.
You have to pick which lane?
Oh, no, everybody's picking their lane.
Zipper merge.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So. there's a
Just
little
remember to
construction
zipper.
going on. Yes.
Zipper.
So it's a little messy. We have a few other projects going on too, going on West Rivers down to a lane going in each, or over the bridge as well. So a few different things going on. It's that time of year. When Jen was interviewed by WZZM, someone asked, not to her, I don't believe, but someone asked, why can't we just do this in January? There's, yeah,
It must have been.
yeah.
Well, why don't we invite 10,000 people to come to town, though? Can't we do that?
In January?
No, now. Now.
We have the LPGA.
Yes.
Yeah, we've already got them coming.
So, yeah, so we got some improvements going on, and everyone appreciate your patience as we get these improvements made, and hopefully then don't have to touch that pavement again for another decade or so. So, someone mentioned it's LPGA week. So I want to send my appreciation to some of our staff who've put some extra effort into making sure the community looks good, right? Hitting some of the right-of-way areas that maybe don't get mowed around the Blythefield Golf Course to just put our best foot forward and, just let the community shine. This is when we're on the national or international stage, if you're a golf fan and Golf Channel's in town, and I can just see them showing that between commercial shots of the Rogue River or something like that, right? So it's time for our community to shine, and so appreciate all the staff and all the volunteers that go into working on that. And not long from that, we'll be at our next meeting hearing a presentation from the organizer of the Mai Tai Triathlon. So I kind of always picture these as the bookend events of our summer in Plainfield. We've got this on the front end, and we actually have a lot of activity this weekend. There's extra activity at the Whitecaps. What's the group, Tom?
The party animals are playing the firefighters. Would that be you, Chief?
I'm aware of it. It won't be me.
Oh, okay.
So this is a group that's not the Whitecaps, but this, I don't know, fun baseball. It's like the Harlem Globetrotters
Yeah.
of baseball, right? Is that the?
Yes, the Savannah Bananas are the more well-known name. This is the team they typically play. It's like the Harlem Globetrotters of basketball, but they play baseball, allegedly.
So they'll be in town this weekend, so it's gonna be a busy place, lots going on. But then Mai Tai's coming up, Michigan Titanium Triathlons at the end of the summer. So they'll be in next month to tell you about their plans for this year's event. And then the last item on my list, staff's been working on some updates to the cemetery ordinance. And so we intend to bring that to you at some point in the future, just kind of putting it on your radar that this is something that we're looking at. There's been some requests to look at different changes to the way we handle cemeteries, and there's generally been a change in what people are requesting. We're seeing a lot more requests to bury cremains as opposed to full traditional burials, and that's had some impact on our cemetery. So talking about some of the changes and how we can prepare for what might be coming next. So we'll be doing that over the next couple of months. We're working with our attorneys on cleaning up existing language in our ordinance that is time to get some updates as well. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. It's board comment time. So let's see, I went back and forth. We'll start in the middle and go out. How about Susan?
I just hope that we can all get through the next few weeks with all the things that are on our plate. But the good thing is for Plainfield Township that we can do this kind of thing and have events going on everywhere in the community with a lot of people working with the LPGA are volunteers, just as we have our library volunteers, and we have volunteers in lots of different places. And the community of Plainfield can be very proud of what's going to be happening in our community, in our parks, and all the things that attract a whole bunch of people to come to town. Good job, everybody. Keep smiling.
All right, thank you. Steve?
I'd like to first start, apologize for my coughing fit there.
We're just happy you're okay.
You're talking about a meeting about the water system and stuff, and I think that meeting was held before this new board. I was wondering, is there a summary or minutes or?
I can give you guys the lowdown, and we can meet and talk after.
Okay, all right. That's all I have.
Okay. Bob?
Nothing for me.
Thank you, sir. Kathy?
Yeah, a couple of things. Our condo association had our annual meeting, and Jessica, firefighter, came and addressed us and talked about the wonderful service that they provide. And it was just great to see that personal touch to our little condo area. So appreciate her, and always our amazing fire department. So.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. Jack?
This morning, I talked to a bicyclist friend of mine, and he said that he had come to Plainfield Township informing them that a tree had fallen on the Jupiter Trail. And he complimented the township because the very next day that tree was gone. And so he wanted to pass that along to our folks at the township. Wanted to give a little update on personal property tax collections. I know I don't report a lot on that. It doesn't get reported much, but I thought I'd just say a few words about it. In March and early April, and Adam can correct, oh, did Adam leave? Adam can correct me if he wants. The tax database gets balanced with the assessing database to make sure that what is assessed is also billed. At that point, the database goes to the county, and the county balances the database in terms of what has been billed, what has been collected, what has not been collected, and does that balance with our records. At that point in early April, when that's called a settlement, that all gets taken care of. In early April, the real taxes are collected by the county. We do not collect the delinquent real taxes. We do collect the delinquent personal taxes. Personal property taxes, if you look at a business, anything if you tip the building upside down, anything that falls out is personal property. That's the way I usually describe it. So the delinquent personal property tax database gets updated. At that point, I can start collecting personal property tax delinquencies. And usually the office sends bills out, but I do personal visits, which is interesting to say the least. I have, since April, early April, I've collected $20,925 worth of delinquent personal property taxes. Some going back as far as 2019. So I've been very pleased to do that. I've gotten good response from businesses that that say, "Oh, I didn't know I owed that," or whatever they say. So I just wanted to report on that. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for the work on that. Frank?
Normally I wouldn't mention this, but my 16-year-old daughter has her first job, and it's at the ballpark.
Well,
That's the only reason I'm mentioning it. It just started last week, so.
Good. Okay, well, it's a busy week, LPGA time. Hope to see you all there. Other than that, I don't have much. Supervisor meeting today, really didn't, we had the library folks there today. Lance spoke to us for a while, so that was our agenda for today. So,
And you're a volunteer at LPGA, right?
yeah,
Takes a deep breath.
I'll put my miles in over the weekend, yes, yes. So, okay, with that, we're adjourned.